Hi, for this video, you're gonna learn about sigma notation, right? Sigma notation is find me sign. So, how do you do that? So, sigma notation it simply means it's a Greek letter that means sum, right? So this is just a Greek letter, which means sum, right? And we already know in our previous videos that sum is Sn. So we can now establish that Sn, sum of the n term, is this Greek letter, right? And this Greek letter, it goes with Tn, and your n has your starting point and to your end point. So your Sn is sum of the n term is equal to sigma of Tn. Tn will be your general term. Is your general term, right? The general term we know is Tn is equal to AR power n minus 1, which is geometric, and the other one is A plus n minus 1 times D, which is your arithmetic, right? So that's your Tn, and then this is your start point, this is your end point. Example, what I mean by that, you have simple example. You have Tn, n from 1 till I don't know 5. So your starting point is 1, your end point is 5. So if you have to simplify this will be T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus T4 plus T5. That's what it means. Let me give you a real life example. Let's say you have sum of, I don't know, 3 to k minus 5. K start from what? 5 to 12. Okay, I mean, it doesn't have to be n, right? N is a dummy variable, can be k as well. But really, we can actually evaluate this, right? How do we do that? To evaluate this, you can have 3, 2. So what changes here? See, your starting point is 5. Our starting point was 1. So we put 1, and then it became T1. And then we increment it by 1, it become 2, 2. Become 3, and become T3. Become 4, become T4. So on, T5. So here it started what? At 5. So you're going to have 3 times 2 power. K is 5 minus 5. Come again, 3, 2. Increase by 1, so it's going to be 6. 6 minus 5. 3, 2 is going to be 7 minus 5 now. Plus, until the last value, which is 12. So it's going to be 3, 2, 12 minus 5. And you can actually take your calculator and punch this in your calculator to power 5 minus 5. You're gonna get it 3, and punch this in your calculator. 3 times 2 power 6 minus 5. Gonna get it 6, and punch that in your calculator. 3 times 2 power 7 minus 5. Gonna get it 12 dot, and punch 3 times 2 power 12 minus 5 is 384. That's what you're gonna get, right? And from here, you can now find your A. Your A is 3. Now you can find your R or your D, right? So is this series arithmetic or geometric, right? If it's arithmetic, that means T2 minus T1 should be equal to T3 minus T2. Then it's arithmetic. Check that. So if you say 6 minus 3, 6 minus 3 should be equal to 12 minus 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. 12 minus 6 is 6. So these two are not equal. So it's not arithmetic. Cool. Now let's check if it's geometric. If it's geometric, you have 2 over T1 should be equal to T3 over T2. And T2 is 6, T1 is 3, T3 is 12, T2 is 6. 6 over 3 is 2. 12 over 6 is 2. So it is geometric. Now, since it's geometric, therefore, our R is 2. And our R is 2. And remember, with geometric, there are 2 formulas that you're going to use. We check, they're all dependent on R. Please check on our previous videos. We discussed about this. They're dependent on R. So our R here is greater than 1. 2 is greater than 1. Right? So if R is greater than 1, so which formula are we going to use? If you haven't checked, if you don't know, please check on our previous video on which formula you're going to use. But on our previous video, we discovered that if R is greater than 1, you're going to use this formula as n is equal to a r power n minus 1 over r minus 1. That's the formula you're going to use. And r is equal to 2, your a is equal to 3. Okay, so that's your a. And then, so you have Sn is equal to a, which is 3, r is 2, and r is 2. So the only thing we don't have here is n. Now, how do you calculate n? N is the end point minus the starting point plus 1. Don't forget this formula. N is the end point minus the starting point plus 1. So what is your end point? Your end point is 12. Your starting point is 5 plus 1. So your n is, your end point is 12, starting point is 5 plus 1. So your n is 12 minus 5 plus 1, which is 8. Your n is 8. So you're going to have now S. So we have Sn is equal to 3, 2 power n minus 1 over 2 minus 1. So S8 is equal to 3, 2 power 8 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. And you can punch this now in the calculator. 2 power 8 times 3 minus 1. You can punch that and you get your answer 765. That's your S8. So, to recap this, what we have learned is, number 1, we've learned that Sn is the sum of Tn. Tn is the general formula where n start from starting point, it ends on your end point. Okay, and we've discovered that n is the end point minus the starting point plus 1. This is your n, right? And then you discover this is the same as t. So we discovered that if you have your starting point as, I don't know, 0, and your end point is 3, and if Tn, so your starting point is 0, and increment by 1, increment by 1, increment by 1, right? So 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, your end point is 3, so it ends there, right? It can be 13, it can go as far as 13. So your Sn it's gonna be this. And then from here, you use your previous information on how to calculate or evaluate this, where your earn is this. Endpoint minus starting point plus 1. This is awesome, actually.